We're going to call the meeting to order and start with the pledge. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from October 8th, 2025?
I make a motion to approve the minutes from October 8th, 2025.
Second that.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Treasurer's report.
All right. Good evening, everybody. If you're following along in your packet, it's the last page in your packet for the financial statement for October. And then Pam also has it up on the screen here. The beginning balance in our checking was $225,027, less our expenses of just over $7,000, plus our revenues of almost $4,000, giving us an ending balance in our checking of $221,626. And then we have our UBS investments of $245,364. Giving the township total assets of $466,990. And then as we move to the middle of the page, you can see our expenses year over year were a decrease or down $22,102. And this was two main drivers, the first being $12,000 for St. Paul Park fire protection. And Pam, that's one, I think maybe if you could double check with St. Paul Park. We got it in September of 2023, October of 2024. Haven't seen it yet this year for our fire from St. Paul Park. So just want to make sure we get it in this year. And then last year at this time, we also had some road projects. So, and then from the revenue perspective, pretty quiet. So no material variances from October last year. And then if we scroll to the bottom section, I'll bring you all the way to the bottom on the left there. Our year-to-date surplus is $51,240. At this time last year, I'll say on paper it was $262,000, but that's because we had $250,000 allotted for the large road repairs on Pioneer and 99th. And I know Supervisor Polta, you asked last month to kind of get an idea of where our capital improvement fund set. It's basically whatever your surplus or deficit would be. So right now we've got an extra $51,000 surplus, so that would be reinvested into road improvements.
What I was kind of looking for is just, if, don't need an exact amount, but so people understand we're putting money away for roads. If we could just say, well, out of all of our money, we figure we probably got, I'm just pulling a number out of there, 200,000, you know.
Slotted away or, yeah.
You know.
Earmarked. Or?
Earmarked roads.
Okay.
You know, because people, we can talk about our tax increase toward the end, because when they get their tax statements, they might go, "Ooh, why?" But we explain to them why.
Okay. Yeah, and off the top of my head, I think what did we budget this year? 80-something thousand, I think, or 89,000 for roads in 2024 or 2025, excuse me. So we're not quite to our kind of 80,000. Obviously, we have our second half property tax payment has yet to hit the books here, so we'll see that next month, I imagine. But any questions for me?
I think the other thing that we've started looking into is maybe doing a bonding issue, or, because if we wait till we have enough money built up, you know, especially for Island Drive down there, we'd never get the money, and then, you know, and the costs keep going up and up. So we're kind of looking into that to see if that's an object, you know, something that would work for our township. So that's something she's been working on us also. So if there isn't any other questions, make a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
Make a motion to approve treasurer's report.
I second the motion.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Bills. Have a motion to pay our bills.
I'll make a motion to pay bills 169 through 185 for a grand total of $17,713.96.
I second the motion.
Okay, motion is made and seconded to pay bills.
May I add something, please? I made a mistake in the bottom. I've got 2 checks for Dick. If you look up on 171, And what I did was I received 2 invoices from Dick, one for materials, and then a few days later, I received one for maintenance and mileage. And so what I did was put the 2 together and paid them on 184, but neglected to take out line 171. So I will do that, and that will change, change the amount. Okay, just so I want it out there,
Yeah,
okay?
I will void the check for item 171 for Dick.
So the total will be less, the 21688.
Exactly.
You-
Okay?
You didn't give me that check already, do you, or I got to give it back?
Correct. I already voided it.
Oh,
We just-
so I
we
never
just-
got it.
Correct.
I was
Right.
just wondering if it was
Nope.
pinned to my bulletin board, I had to give it back to you.
Nope. I've got it, and it'll be voided, uncashable.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I got a little bit on them ditches on Pioneer. Anybody that was watching, oh,
I tried.
that's all. Well, we didn't vote yet.
Dick
Motion.
motion, I seconded.
Yeah.
Well, we got to revise the motion,
Right,
Oh.
yeah.
take that off of.
Well, I'll make a motion, the same as I made before, to pay the bills with Pam's snafu and her corrections.
So we're eliminating 171.
Yeah.
I second the motion.
For how much?
14,497.12.
Okay.
I think. That's my quick shorthand math. She's a math major, so.
Okay.
Okay, and then our ditches and Pioneer and the gravel, how we come up with the 12,800?
Sorry, not 14.
I think several months ago, we
Sorry.
14.
approved 7,500 plus or minus, depending what happened. So anyway, Tracy, man, they're over there working on it, and they started doing, okay, originally, we're only gonna do the east side of the road, because that's where the ditch drops off a lot. So they started doing that, it took more dirt than they thought, and then while they're out there, some of the neighbors come over and said, oh, you're gonna continue that all the way up? You know, because it looked good. Well, yeah, we might as well. Then I got to looking at the west side of the road. Well, that needed work too, especially by Perna's there, and then right by the 90-degree turn, up on the south end of it. So anyway, did the whole thing, having gravel, the shoulder on both sides. They ended up doing a real good job. The only thing that's going to be questionable, they were supposed to have this done a month ago. Well, I bought a bunch of grass seed back in about May or something. Well, I had that. Well, I went to do it when I needed more grass seed. I really didn't want to plant it because you don't know if it's going to grow or not, but I didn't want to sit and wait until spring. So anyway, we'll see what happens. So that's how we come up with the 12,800. We didn't get chumped on anything. The billing stayed about the same, the cost per load and skids to work, but they did do a good job. I don't know if any of you drove by there, it looks pretty good. And then some people might question, well, why didn't you do that when you did Pioneer Road? When we did the blacktop. There was a reason for that. The engineer and everybody thought, we didn't really know where the road would end up after they milled it and overlaid it, how the ditches would be. And even the engineer that we hired to do the job, he said, right now you're basically a paving contractor, not a dirt contractor. Even though Park Construction does dirt work, they subcontracted out all the paving. He said, you'd be better off just working with a dirt contractor when you're done and see where we end up. So that's what we did. We just waited till we got done and hired a dirt contractor to do it.
Okay, so we got a motion to pay the bills.
We
Total,
did that, we just got a vote.
total has been changed to 17,497.12.
Wait.
We just got to vote on it. We already did the motion.
Okay. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Anything else? We have Kevin Magnuson here from Washington County Attorney. If you'd like to take the mic.
Oh, you got that. Okay, so now, Bud, we need you on mic.
I'm gonna do. All right, if you. Do you mind if I wheel that chair over here? And put it right there.
The big one? Yeah. Yeah, the tall one? Absolutely.
had a mic like this in quite a while. I've been known to bust out in song, but
We're pretty modern down here.
hey, this is a great place. I love this. All right, let's see what we got going on here. Quick share.
Actually, if you want, we can lower the mic. You can sit in a chair and look at your.
You know what I like about this? See, I don't want to do my notes here. I want to do. Let's try this again here. You know, we have a click share, but I'm embarrassed to say that somebody else has always set it up. So, where am I supposed to find this click share business? Oh, here we go.
Do you have the click share thing plugged in? Oh, it does. Okay. All right.
Click the top one and it shows what's on my screen, not that.
There you go.
Okay, that's my notes. Now let's go to. No, that's what they said. Let's see. The presenter view is coming on, and I know you want to read my notes, but I can't let you do that. It's supposed to be. I'll have to remind myself to talk about myself. I guess that's probably a good thing. Well, I do have some stats that I just added, so I'm going to try to get them if I can. Just bear with me 1 minute if you don't mind.
That's okay.
Let's see. I'm pushing buttons like crazy here. Almost here. The Washington sausage get made, huh? Where? Let's try this now. I don't know why it's not.
You make us feel good, though. We have problems with stuff like that, too.
Well, you know, it's not like I haven't done this before, right? But sadly, you would never know it. Let's try this one more time. I think I have my notes going on here. I think I got too many of these things. And then we're just going to go for it. Not gonna let me do it. So, I don't need no stinking notes, right? Yeah, right. Well, maybe. The only problem is, like, do you have a pen drive? Yeah, you know what? I know.
Oh, I know what that is.
Then you're not stealing any cars, so that's good. Let me just get out of this. So I'm gonna. All right, we're gonna do it this way. Well.
Well, if you could introduce yourself and you
Oh.
Sorry.
Now I don't even need this thing. Well, my name is Kevin Magnuson. Thank you very much for having me. You can tell that I did not get a degree in IT or anything like that. If I had my 14-year-old with me, everything would be working just fine.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah.
So I live in Lake Elmo. I'm living in the same house I grew up in. It was built in 1898, which is kind of cool. So I bought it from my dad. Most of his stuff is still in the house, however. And it's pretty much held together by spackle and wallpaper. You know, it's a real fixer-upper. So I've never seen the movie Money Pit because people tell me I'll just cry and sell it, and so I haven't seen it. But that's a little bit of my free time is essentially that, and I have a 5-year-old and a 14-year-old. 5-year-old son who got in trouble today because he wouldn't come out from under the table at school. He's in kindergarten, and then he went into the bathroom and thought it'd be really funny to stick his head under the stall where some other kid was. It was just totally creeped out for good reason. So yeah, he's a great, 5-year-old, redheaded, Tasmanian kind of guy. My wife, Lindsay, we've been there for quite a while. My dad bought the house in '73, so we've been around there for a long time. I'm a veteran. I was stationed in Germany during the first Gulf War. My unit was there, but by the time I got done with airborne school and got to Germany to take the flight down to Saudi, the ground war had ended. Okay. That was like the 68-hour war, you know, and nothing like what came after that. So, but it was a good experience. I stayed in Europe, went to graduate school. I was doing a PhD in philosophy at a German university and then at a Belgian university. And then I realized if I get this degree, like my basic equipment is going to be a Santa suit, you know, or I'm going to be serving French fries or whatever. So I do what everybody does when you don't know what to do. I went to law school. And, went to law school, went back to Europe, studied a little bit there. My first job was at the European Commission in their antitrust division, sort of like our DOJ. They call it the Director General of Competition. But then eventually I followed the umbilical express back home, like most of us from Minnesota, and worked in Minneapolis for 20 years in private practice, doing complex business litigation and white-collar work. A lot of fraud stuff back then. So I've been a part of the county attorney's office for a while, since 2019. Pete Orput, I don't know if anybody remembers Pete. Miss him every day. He's the only guy that could have talked me about leaving private practice and come work for the government, but I'm really glad I did. And then he talked me into running, and I did. And unfortunately, he found out he had cancer and died 10 days later. And that was just he was just such a wonderful person. So talked me into it and then left me, you know, to figure it out myself. And but it's been a great job. It's a great opportunity. When Pete was trying to sell my wife and me on doing it, he said, there's no better opportunity to do good in your community than this job. I think that's been the case. It's an elected position. It's nonpartisan. Unlike Hennepin and Ramsey, where it's nonpartisan, but it is partisan, it's truly nonpartisan. And, you know, my dad's a judge. He's a federal judge. He's still 88, still hearing cases, which is, I think it's a good thing. You know, he calls me and says the same thing every now and then, but his legal mind is fantastic. But I see myself in this role as a county attorney and as a prosecutor more like a judge than as a politician. So I feel very strongly that I have a little bit of discretion, and I want to make sure everybody that comes into contact with the office knows that they get a completely fair shot, a blank slate. It's a great bunch of people that are working there. I've tried to add to some of the same kind of people that I inherited. Just really good. I was just hearing from some defense counsel last night. I was at Joe Freeberg's Celebration of Life. I don't know if anybody knows who Joe Freeberg is. He's the dean of the trial lawyers, just a famous guy. But they were saying that they really like the lawyers in the office because they're balanced, they're fair. Just all the things that I would just made me really happy, you know, to hear that. And so the team is great. I'm standing up here, but these guys are the ones that make it work. On that note, so our criminal division. So we've got 61 and a half full-time positions. So half is a part-time position, not a short person, but a half time. And so it's split about half between lawyers and support staff. And this shouldn't be kind of a remarkable statement, but I think in this time it is, that when I look at this and when the prosecutors in my office look at any situation, the first thing that's going through their mind is public safety from start to finish. We do whatever we can, diversion, helping people, making sure they get the fair treatment. But I don't want to take unnecessary risks because I don't think it's fair for you all to bear that risk. You know, I think some of that's going on in jurisdictions to our west, where when I feel like the interest is more concentrated on the defendant than on the community. And I want to get that balance right. But so public safety is paramount. Talk a little bit about our juvenile. I'm going to try to rip through this thing because I know you guys don't want to keep you here too late. But got a great juvenile team. We do, but we got hit by, it's kind of divided between juvenile delinquency work and then the child protection side. And the juvenile delinquency is kind of what you think about. You know, we have, most of the kids we see do something stupid. You know, I think if you look back in your life, you know, you may have done something stupid, which may have been a violation of the law or not. I'm not
It
going
may
to
not have changed over the years.
You're still running, huh?
Yeah.
But you know, most of these kids, they do something wrong. It's a violation of the law. We hold them accountable. We put them in a robust diversion program where they get mental health treatment if they need it, chemical dependency treatment, anger management, you know, organizational training, just a lot of the stuff through YSB, the Youth Service Bureau that handles our diversion. And they complete the program and we never see them again. You know, it's like 70% of the people who go through the program never see them again. You know, and that's a pretty good.
I mean, they're cured or they went to Hennepin County.
Well, I like to think that they're either they know better than to do something naughty in Washington County, or they're cured. And I've met a few of the people who have gone through that, and I think the trick is you got to do it early. You really have to intervene when there's the first kind of violation of the law. And I think the problem we've got in Hennepin and Ramsey in particular, or maybe in Anoka and Dakota in some areas, that, and we have some of this too, but by the time you get to the kids, they've committed so many different, I mean, they've gone down that road where the crimes are more serious at this point. And that's a harder ship to turn around, as you might imagine. But, you know, I'd say we have about 10 kids average in a year that take up most of our time. And when they do something, they got it's guns, it's cars, it's drugs, it's the whole thing. And they've been in and out of juvenile detention in Hennepin or Ramsey. And, you know, frankly, it seems like they're released a lot more quickly there than they are in Washington County. And, you know, sometimes you can't keep them because, you know, they're 14, 15 years old. But, I mean, I want to put as much probable cause, you know, any charge that I can get that we can ethically bring, I want to bring it. We may dismiss it later, but I want the process to take long enough so at least they'll spend one night in detention, you know. And I figure I should also inconvenience the parents to come pick them up at 1 o'clock at night, you know, a little bit if the kids out running around. And it sometimes is the case. But there are some consequences. You know, a couple nights is good. You don't want to keep them long enough so they realize they can do this standing on their head. You just want to try to get the message, get them into some programming. And so much of this starts on the prevention side. You know, our child protection side, we do all the child abuse cases, child neglect cases, but we also do, you know, truancy and a lot of kind of intervention work there. Just touch briefly on the civil division. It's kind of the junk drawer of the county attorney's office. I came from that junk drawer before I became the county attorney. But most of the things that really affect your life are handled by these guys. You know, all the human kind of things, like the guardianships, the civil commitments, all that kind of stuff goes through the civil department. We advise the county, so as they're making decisions, they're getting legal advice from us. And we're reviewing all the contracts. So it's our job to make sure that we're not stuck in some kind of contract where there's a liquidated damages clause and they're screwed. So, so I'm going to talk a little bit about auto theft. You know, things are getting better, but the COVID bubble is real. You know, if you look at the auto theft number, I mean, there was a spike. And that 79 in 2018 was a little bit high. I mean, the trend was lower, closer to the 2019 mark. But you can see there really is, you know, in 2021, 22, a bubble. And with kids, you can really see it. Now, it took us a little longer because sometimes it takes longer for the cases to go through the system. But the bubble is real. And it just goes to show you, you know, it's probably not the greatest thing to give a kid an iPhone and let him run around the streets unsupervised for a couple of years, you know. But here you can kind of see how it all comes together. And I think the important thing is it is trending down. You know, it's still too high. It's way too high. But we're moving it in the right direction. And a lot of that is because we've got really good law enforcement in Washington County. I mean, the Sheriff's Department, they do a premier job. Excellent job. I got, you know, worked with Dan Starry my whole time as county attorney and before then. And, you know, the fact that we have a very good working relationship, I didn't realize it was unique, that a lot of county attorneys and sheriffs butt heads. You know, you're not prosecuting, you're not doing a good job investigating. And it may have something to do with egos. I don't know. I guess is probably, but we have a great relationship. And then also the police departments, you know, Cottage Grove and Woodbury and Forest Lake and Oakdale. So, I mean, they do a great job. And so the level of law enforcement in this county is exceptional. And I just want to make sure that, you know, you see these guys, tell them I said that. But also, just know that we're fortunate to have that. So, I have a real problem with is the fleeing from the police. And yeah, here's going here. Oop, back, come on. Here we go. Oop. Let's try it this way. Here we go. You know, it's dangerous. It's dangerous for the officers. It's dangerous for the public. And I mean, this happens way more often than you would like to see. I'll show you just another one here. This is in the parking lot of LA Fitness in the corner of Stillwater Boulevard and 694. The guy is on the passenger side and he's working the pedals and he's laying on the girl's lap, and then he crawls over the top of her and runs, and she then is sitting there going, then she wants to get away, but she's boxed in. She's completely strung out on meth. She was in there checking empty lockers in the girls' locker room, ladies' locker room. And she didn't think this one through very well because, I mean, she was pretty easy to apprehend once they finally got out of there. You know, when she was talking to the cops, she said, you know, if people leave their locker open, I could just inviting me to steal their stuff. And it was much more expletive laden than that. I think the treatment and stuff that she went through pending her sentencing, which was a good stiff sentence, but I think that, you know, hopefully she was on the right track there. So this is the trend line that just really concerns me. I mean, can you imagine? Nobody really even thought about running from the cops. I mean, everybody knew that it was stupid, but we had too much respect. You know, even the criminals, for the most part, understood that it was futile. And part of it, I think, is a lack of respect, you know, for authority. And part of it is that I don't think people are thinking through the consequences maybe like they used to. I think the boiling temperature is a lot lower. People just do stupid things. In this case, really dangerous things. Well, in this case, yeah, I mean, there was a guy who, this was a little while ago, but this deputy pulled him over, looks in the window, asked for the license. This is before pot was legal, and sees a jar of marijuana there. So he's got the jar, he's got the driver's license. He says, I'm gonna have to ask you to get out of the car. Guy looks at him and puts it into drive and takes off, you know. Driver's license, and I got the evidence. I don't know what more. I'm gonna go get him. It turned out that he had been charged with fleeing, and served. I mean, and sentenced, right? And I don't know if he thought this was his lucky chance. He's gonna try one more time and see if he got away with it. But I mean, to your point, we prosecute. We ask for the sentences. We can't always you know, I mean, we don't get to pick the sentences, and that's the way the system is, and it's how it should be.
Now, these numbers, are they all of Washington County?
Yep.
Okay, so it'd like include Cottage Grove and Newport and everything?
Forest
Okay.
Lake and-
Okay.
Yep,
I
Woodbury.
didn't know if the cities would have their own data.
No, this is the, not necessarily the ones that occurred or were arrested, these are the ones that we charged.
Okay.
And
All
we
right.
we get about 1,200 cases, or about 1,400 referrals. We charge about 1,200.
Okay.
And that's a really pretty good charge rate. I think a lot of it is because of the good law enforcement. But also, there's some things you just really, it's just hard to, like, domestic abuse, for example. Sometimes the victims they just can't testify for whatever reason. Now, if we've got a good 911 call, we'll charge it anyhow without the victim. But that's an example of a case we'd love to take it all the way through, but we can't find the victim, or the victims are canted or whatever. So this is the juvenile number, same kind of spike as you saw before. This was a little bit earlier. That's just showing the way our case processes works. But again, when you've got 127 fleeing incidents down from 36 4 years ago, very concerning. And it is going in the right direction again, but I think something fundamental has changed in our society. This is there were 2 cars at Cabela's in Woodbury, kids from 11 to 15 years old in 2 cars, 7 of them. They were Cabela's shoplifting. They had stolen cars, and Cabela's called. The police came. They jumped in their car. They rammed the cruiser, got out on Ideal Avenue, and went south. North into Lake Elmo. Well, that road dead end. They're going over 110 miles an hour. These 2 cars with a bunch of kids, and it goes right in. It just dead ends, and they all had to bail. So here, one of the cars gets pinned up. The sheriffs do a pit maneuver there, and they pinned him against the tree. But this guy who's running here, he's 14 or 15. I can't remember. In his right hand, he's got his phone, but in his left hand, he's got a gun. Right? And you've got people chasing him. These kids have guns, and that's the thing that is most. Now, they changed the law to make carjacking its own crime in 2023, and we have not charged a single one. We haven't had a single one since then in Washington County, except for one. I was saying that until recently, but that wasn't your real carjacking. It was a real charge, but not the stereotypical. Here, a guy, 3 o'clock in the morning, 3:22 in the morning, calls an Uber at a fitness club, gets in the car, gets close to home, decides he wants to steal the guy's phone. The driver says, heck no, bails. And so he's sitting in a stolen car now, and the police are coming. So he takes off and heads into Hudson, and they get some stop sticks and stop him. Of course, we'll prosecute him like we would anybody else. But I don't want you to think that the stuff you're seeing on the news, like recently, this carjacking in Minneapolis, this stuff is just frightening. It's not as common here as you might think out here. I think a lot of that stuff is still going on in Minneapolis, St. Paul. I will say I'm very happy that on Friday there was a kid, no longer a kid, who had the longest rap sheet of an actual charged cases I have ever seen. Done everything, and every time he got out, by hook and by crook, in Hennepin County and Ramsey County, and we did our best to keep him. But he finally turned 18, and he was sentenced to 10 years. The sad thing is he'd already done time served going in and out of things for about 3 years. So, but that stuff's going on. Most of the stuff we're seeing, though, isn't originating here and at that level. The stolen cars are coming from someplace else, and people do what they do in stolen cars, and that's commit crimes. And I will say that one thing on car theft, it's kind of become I've kind of hit this theme already, but it's become the entry-level crime for some of these kids. At least that's where they're hitting the justice system, because people aren't getting to them earlier. But what ends up happening is somebody steals a car, they get all their buddies to come along, 13, 14 years old. Somebody gets in the car who hasn't stolen a car or anything, riding along with his friends, commit some crimes. Pretty soon, he's committing crimes. And then next thing you know, he wants to do the Kia challenge and steal a car himself, and then rinse and repeat, you know, and that's the problem. I think it has to do with basically just density, you know, and it's not necessarily on the geographical areas. It's more like, here's some new developments where, you know, kids are coming and they'll drive up Minnehaha, and they'll come up, you know, from Ramsey County, and they'll go up like the new development by the Lake Elmo Airport. You know, they'll just walk in there and just check the handles to see, you know, and everybody thinks they're living in a nice suburban, and they don't lock their, you know, their cars. Sometimes they leave the keys in the car. Sometimes they leave the door opener that's working, and sometimes they go in the garage, and the you know, the service door into the house is open, and there's purse and keys and stuff right there. So I guess the takeaway there is, lock your car, take the stuff out, you know, park in the garage, you know, don't leave a gun in. I swear, you know, that's one of the problems. Is a lot of these stolen cars, people think they're going to protect themselves, and they keep a gun in the car someplace. Well, that doesn't do you a whole lot of good. It doesn't do society any good when they break into the car and take the gun. I'm not going to spend a ton of time. I know people are interested in fraud because we've seen so much of it. We've had 2 cases that you've probably heard about. One of them, and I can't talk about them because we're prosecuting, I can just say what's been in the news, and that there was what we're calling an immigration theft, an immigration fraud case that we're charging, over $500,000, and it was in a Spanish-speaking church where there was a woman who attended, and she told everybody she had this lawyer friend that was really good, could help them with all their immigration needs, and needed to be paid up front. And that was the scam. And now that we did search warrants, and that individual's in jail, hasn't made bail, but we'll see what happens there. But we're charging that case, and we're working with Dakota just because some of the victims lived in Dakota, even though all the transactions took place in Lake Elmo. So we're going to do joint prosecution. Another example of the county attorneys working well together. You know, this is the kind of work I did before I came to the county attorney's office. Fun case, I represented Ron Yeri, Hall of Fame tackle for the Vikings. We sued Stu Voigt for fraud. So that was an interesting case, as you might imagine. Stu Voigt was doing this mezzanine lending, where that's a lending that's at the very, very top of the equity. You've taken as many loans and second loans and maybe third loans you possibly can, and you pay very high. And there was a person who was doing that kind of lending, and Stu Voigt was going around getting all his friends and relatives and telling them it's super safe. You know, nothing short of a nuclear war, you know, could harm this investment. Well, then the bubble burst, and you know, over $1 million in the case I had alone. He settled with us partly because he thought the statute had run on fraud, and it had, 4-year statute. What he didn't realize is the statute for bank fraud is 5 years, and he was the chairman of First Commercial Bank, which no longer exists, and he lent money, the bank's money, to the guy who was, you know, the principal behind the fraud, and the bank, for whatever reason, didn't secure its interest in the loan. So when that went bad, there was a lot of attention, and then I was able to package all this up and bring it to the U.S. Attorney's Office with all the witnesses in my case, and he did 6 months in jail. So here's a woman, she stole a wallet, right? As soon as she right away went to the ATM, so she's on surveillance, and then pretty quickly after that, she's at a bank, same person, opening an account. And typically what they try to do is deposit some money and then withdraw some money, more than what they deposited. Here's just a person who came to the Washington County out of Anoka, and you know, she had the receipts from Best Buy, from somebody else's credit card, had a credit union check, and had a payroll check. So stuff's happening. Here's a case, this is a forge case, and She was on a bunch of meth, so she was charged with felony check forgery. And, the bank did the right thing, right? They flagged the check, they called the police. Another case, this is an altered check case. Again, the bank cooperated and convicted of felony aiding and abetting check forgery. So, probably took a little bit longer than I intended. I hope that's all right. But
Yeah.
if you have any questions or anything, let me know. And please reach out to me. I mean, that's my job. Sometimes people call this. I don't know if this is appropriate. Yeah, it's appropriate. I'm supposed to answer the public's phone call. So call me, call somebody in my office, whatever you need, and we'll do our best to take care of you.
Where would the line be between where we would have to use our attorney to prosecute something versus you guys?
Great question. So misdemeanors are handled, and some gross misdemeanors are handled by the cities or the townships. However, because the sheriff does a lot of your work, right?
He does, yeah.
Yeah.
We
And so-
contract, well, we don't contract with them. They,
Yeah.
they provide police protection.
We do all the felonies in the county and some gross misdemeanors. But in cases where the sheriff is the law here in making the arrests, we'll do most of that prosecution.
Okay.
Who do you have a counsel, I assume?
Yeah.
Your city attorney?
What's his, Dave Snyder.
Yeah, I know Dave. He's a good lawyer.
Yeah.
Yeah. He does a lot of that kind of work. He's really good.
Okay. And then we had another question for you. In all our ordinances, what do we need, like, here's an example at the end of ours.
Hey, homework.
What do we need to put in our ordinances for you or Dave or whoever to, the ordinance is all written up, but there's no penalty listed? It doesn't say,
well-
so what do we need at the end of our ordinances?
Well, typically, you've got to have some kind of citation, right, to the rule, or build it into the citation or into the ordinance.
I mean, like that's the last page, and that's what we got in there. Do we need something
provision
else?
of this code is a misdemeanor punishable by fine or imprisonment. So, I mean,
That's all we need?
You know what? I don't want to give legal advice because
Yeah.
you've got Dave, who's
Yeah.
doing a good job, but I am happy to send you a couple of ordinances that we know are tight, and if that helps you as a template.
Yeah, can you do that and send them to our clerk? Yeah. Because what would happen, like, we got some ordinances. One is a Mississippi River critical corridor area. We adopted an ordinance with all these stipulations, but there is no penalty listed.
That's a problem.
That's kind of what I thought when I looked today.
I don't want to
Okay.
be too
Yeah.
quick on that, but typically,
Basically, every ordinance we have needs
Well,
something like that in it.
unless there's some kind of reference to another legal basis for the, for the liability there.
Not really, no. So, okay.
All right, well, I'm happy to send you those, and if you
Yeah.
want to walk through a specific one, again, we don't give legal advice.
Sure.
We give legal advice to the counties, but not to the cities or townships. But happy to send you something, and then, and I would ask Dave the same question, because
Okay.
he knows what he's doing.
Well, I thought about this today when we knew you were coming here.
Wow.
So, yeah. And then what else would we reach out to you for, as a township?
Anything, all kinds of stuff. And if I don't, sometimes I'm not the right place, but I can get you to the right place.
Okay, all right.
Again, the misdemeanors and, all your city legal issues are handled by your
Township
city
attorney,
Yeah,
yeah.
township attorney. But
But criminal stuff and stuff,
if there's a child protection issue, typically it's going to, in that situation, it goes to the community services.
you go to the police probably first, and then they would,
or the community, the county service provider who does all the child welfare
Okay.
stuff, and we're their lawyer.
okay,
But there are sometimes like truancy issues. We a lot of, and if we're working with the non-lawyer part, the investigator or the social worker, if it's not something that is something we would do right off the bat, then we can get you to the right place.
okay.
But a lot of times people will call and say, well, what about this guy? Is this sex offender? What's going on? Or is this enough to state a crime? And, we can't give you the detail, but we could tell you if it makes sense for you to go on talk to law enforcement.
Because anything with law enforcement, we just call the sheriff.
You know, you do.
Okay.
And Dan says just.
Because that's all, well, that's all we got.
Yeah, well, and he's, and you got good.
Okay.
You're doing well there. He just says call 911. It's the same people that answer the phone when you dial
Okay.
the long number or the short number. They triage it.
Okay.
Yeah, and if there's, a nuisance all the way up to a serious crime, that's who you should talk to.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions you got out there? Got it? Anybody else? Thanks. We appreciate it.
Yeah, it was,
coming down and,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Supervisors. I
Yeah,
appreciate
we
it.
learned a few things. Yeah, and like you say, send
Yeah, we will.
them to Pam.
We will.
So
We'll
she's
send you a
got
couple
them.
examples.
Yep.
Any particular area? Are you thinking like,
No, I just,
okay, it's just something
we
straightforward?
got like 60-some ordinances and just happened to think with you coming, how many? Oh, we got them numbered through 60, but we dumped a bunch of them. Some of them are kind of outdated,
Well, I think with that, I think we need to get a picture. Yeah, I want to be in it. I'll come right in here. Now, how about this?
Do you want us to stand up with you?
Well, I'll get down like this. How's that? That's good. Scoot over here. What's going on?
Okay, oh, this is great.
Good. I have a quarterly newsletter if you guys want it. Sign up for it. You can.
Okay.
I think we have actually, I think I have a QR code. That's our, but it's our website, and you can sign up for the newsletter if you'd like.
Okay.
You might see your picture in there.
There you go. Well, thanks for coming down.
It was a
We do,
pleasure. Thank you
we
very
appreciate
much.
it because
thanks a lot.
we learned a couple things and,
Well, if you
well,
don't
we
make a point, it's hard to get down, right?
Yeah.
So,
I appreciate
your
it.
office does way more different things than I thought they did, than I was aware of, so, yeah. Yep, thank you.
Thanks so much. All right, we'll continue on with the meeting, and next item up is a planning commission meeting, which didn't meet. They had no business, and to remind everybody out there that we are looking for volunteers for the planning commission. So if you know anybody, send them to the clerk. All right, the next planning commission meeting is scheduled for December 1st at 6:30 p.m. The next town board meeting is going to be Wednesday, December 10th at 7 p.m. And as of right now, we don't have any other meetings scheduled for the town board. Unfinished business, Dick touched on this a little bit, but he can update you again on Pioneer Road.
No, that's, told you everything I know. Yeah,
Okay,
that's as
all
smart
right.
as I am.
All right, no other, going on to new business. Okay, we have an emergency operation plan, and we need to determine a management coordinator. And we need one of us supervisors to volunteer. An emergency operation plan in case there's a catastrophic emergency somewhere, that we need a representative in the township that people can call, and then the operation manager has a list of people that they call, the different electric, company, gas companies, or fire departments, or whatever else is needed. So they need one person to handle that.
All the other people involved, there's a person that gets involved with road stuff,
So
but we need one coordinator that can be available.
Yeah, so I had emailed Pam that I would be willing to volunteer at the management training at the county last year, emergency management training. The role for coordinator for our township is pretty limited because we don't have our own police, EMS, or anything like that. So basically, the coordinator just kind of barks it up the tree.
Jake, we the EOP, we all did it.
Okay.
We just did it at different times, but
Oh, okay, yeah.
it's awesome.
I was
that
there by
you're-
myself, so I
I know.
Yeah, okay,
But we
cool.
were all there.
Well, in that case, I rescind my vol. No, I'm kidding.
But I
I'm
think
definitely
it's
happy
great.
to do it, but yeah.
So I take it you'll
Yep,
volunteer?
that's cool.
Great. Cool beans. All right. We go through the dates for the next planning commission meetings and the town board meetings. We have a list here of all the dates. I'm not going to go through every one of them. There's one that was highlighted, and I don't know why.
Okay, I can help with that. In September, the actual day for the Planning Commission landed on Labor Day. So you can't have it on Labor Day. But if you move it to the Tuesday following, it's one day before your meeting, which is not a good thing either. So I'm thinking the Tuesday before, or 9/8. Now I'm confused. 9/1, the Tuesday, it'd be the Tuesday before or something like that.
Well, what date would you?
9/1 is on a Tuesday. Yeah, it's,
Is that like the day after Labor Day or some darn thing too, or
Sunday.
no.
Labor Day's in there somewhere?
Okay, so it would just be a week ahead of time.
That's fine.
It's supposed to be the second Tuesday of every month, but it'd be the first Tuesday of September instead of,
Yeah,
are you guys good with that? So 9/1?
Yeah.
9/1 works?
yeah.
Well, September 1st, that's a month, that's a Tuesday, that's fine.
Then that's what will be posted,
Okay.
9/1.
9/1.
Okay. All right, so I have a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Just
Aye.
1 second here. Looking at the calendar, Labor Day is September 7th.
Right.
So the regular meeting would be August 31st for the Planning Commission?
No, it would be September 8th.
Because it has to fall in September?
No, it would be September, first Monday of every month.
Okay, got
Okay,
it.
so that falls on Labor Day. We can't have it on that.
Yep, got it. That makes sense.
And there's no Monday in September going, back.
Right.
So I opted for Tuesday.
Okay.
And I did not get a reply from the Planning Commission, so it is what it is.
Sounds good.
Cool.
All right,
We made a motion, we just got to vote.
a motion was made.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, our annual meeting is going to be Tuesday, March 10th. I take that 7 p.m., March 10th, 2026. Local Board of Appeals and Equalization meeting is Thursday, April 9th at 6 p.m. That's also next year, 2026. I don't think we need a motion for either one of those dates. The school bus service is the next item on the agenda, and I'm just going to briefly say that the school bus decided not to pick kids up on Geneva Avenue anymore. After 32 years of picking kids up on Geneva Avenue, they feel that there's too many incidents, too many vehicle crashes, is what this kid told me, which is an out-and-out lie. There was some property damage that was done on the end of Geneva Avenue because the school buses can't turn around because it's such a small cul-de-sac. So I went down and talked to the neighbor down there, and he said, out of 32 years, there's only been 3 incidents where the school bus has hit his fence. He's got a cedar post fence there that they hit. And he's fixed it each time and hasn't billed the bus company for any of that. And they feel that that's enough to warrant them not coming down Geneva Avenue anymore.
I want to
So now they
mention
want everybody to
Arneson.
drive their kids up to Gray Cloud Trail in Geneva. which, if you look at the laws, constitutes an illegal bus stop, because you have to have 500 feet of sight, front and back of a school bus. And on that corner, that's a very dangerous corner that they decided is much more safer than coming down Geneva Avenue, where we have provided for the past 32 years a safe place for that bus to turn around. The only time they have an incident is when the bus driver doesn't know where to turn around, and that falls back on them. They need to teach the bus drivers. And where we're at with that now is I know the neighbors next to me that has to drive his kids all the way down to the corner down there and pick them up and every day. I'm not sure where they're at. I think they're pretty upset with them, and it just seems like, you know, we've been in touch with them, and Pam's been in touch with them, and they're just like, it's just the way it is. It's too bad. You know, we talked, and they met, the transportation people met with the neighbors down there and tried to explain to them, and you just can't talk to these people. There's just no talking to them. They got their mind set up, and that's the way it's going to be. I feel bad for the parents now that have to deal with that, and I'm not sure where we can go from there. What they asked the township to provide them with a safe turnaround, which would mean a commercial turnaround at the end of Geneva Avenue, which we don't have enough property for that. So they like, well, just go ask the neighbors to donate property so we can put that. I mean, that's absurd. You know, these people are just incompetent at their job as far as I'm concerned. So that
corner right there is so bad. The wind rows that go across into
Yep.
the field. Look how many times on your way to work when you work that culvert.
yeah,
It's stuck right there.
it's
really bad. It is
it's a bad intersection, you know, and
Started picking up kids to school, having our kids walk across the street.
Right.
That's what we made. And after last year with Rachel running through going 8 miles an hour, that was not happening.
And they were going around buses with the stop sign.
Yeah, I called the sheriff on that one.
Yeah.
I wasn't thrilled.
no,
They
so
did that by your neighbor's house.
Yep.
yeah, there's issues, and
Do we have any kids on the 99th? Like, does the bus go down there at all?
That's a separate bus. There are 2 buses on the island.
And don't know if it goes down there.
Is there a turnaround? You know what I mean? That's what I'm wondering. It's similar kind of cul-de-sac style.
There's a cul-de-sac down there, but
Big
it is
enough?
not a commercial-sized cul-de-sac. I'm not sure
Yeah,
what
it's
the bus
big, not
does.
big enough to turn a bus around on.
Do you think they have them kids walk up 99th?
Or
to
maybe
the-
there isn't
I don't know if
kids
there's
down
any
there?
down there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, you know there's kids down there because they're driving
Well,
they're wrecking the pipeline down there with
Yeah.
those kids, I don't know if they,
them are
I don't know if they go to
them are
school or
adult
not.
kids.
There's 2 buses that come into Great Cloud every morning. I pass them on my way out.
Right.
So I don't know where they go
There's-
once they get to the Y.
There's probably more than that. That's,
Well, just 2 I see.
There's 2 elementary routes. One goes down the island, one goes towards the new development. And then up the hill. Good luck.
So anyway, it's unfortunate. It's an unfortunate situation that, you know, I don't know what we can do as a
Pam
town,
asked
as a township, you know, that, you know, there's very little that we can do about it. We, you know, we're not in a position to buy or acquire land to make a commercial turnaround when we've already provided them a safe turnaround. For the last 32 years, we've provided them with a safe turnaround. You know,
Yeah, 'cause-
that would be next.
To hit that bus.
It's an illegal stop is what it is. And I think that,
that,
you know, and.
gonna get, already
and,
did?
you know,
She said no. Yeah.
So I don't know where we go from here. We're still gonna,
Guys, I'm just here.
Illegal bus stop.
Well, we told the parents to go up to the school board and present their case, and because, you know, like you say, the bad part is, you know, when we pull out on Geneva now, with all the additional, well, the traffic ain't that much yet compared to all the houses. People come around that corner pushing 50 miles an hour. I mean, you can pull out of Geneva onto that road, and I mean, you look, there's nobody, you pull out and you go 100 feet and there's somebody right behind you doing this, you know?
Several times.
So, yeah, it's not a good place for a school bus stop, especially with little kids down there and that.
not.
And like Phil said, we've gotten permission from Arneson's. They've been using Arneson's driveway for 32 years. The only accidents that they've had down there is when they don't inform a new driver that you can use that driveway, you know, so.
It falls back on them. They just don't want to do their job. They're inadequate at what they do their job as far as I'm concerned. They're just inadequate. They shouldn't have a position like that. So,
Does it affect down Geneva?
4.
yeah. So anyway, has anybody got anything else they want to say?
I do.
Okay.
The reason I'm bringing this up, our budget is, I don't think anybody's gotten their 26 property tax statements yet. I don't think they've come out.
No.
And I figure people at home are looking because the Great Cloud portion of taxes have gone up. I forget what the exact percent is, and like 26% or something. It's, you know, it sounds substantial, but let me give you, bringing some information up for you though. I wanted to do this for 26, but we don't have the figures from them yet. But in 25, I'm using my house for an example. As the example, my Great Cloud portion of taxes were $1,419. If I was in Cottage Grove, it'd be $2,300. If I was in St. Paul Park, it'd be $2,600. So we are, you know, if you compare us to the two neighbors, we're cheap. And then another thing is we don't assess for road repairs. We haven't up to this point. And we're paying for the recycle for each home, which that's not a big deal. I think when they assessed the people on Great Cloud Trail and Cottage Grove when they did it, what I heard from people was about $3,000 per resident. And like sand camps, I think was $17,000. So that'd be higher. And then part of the reason we're going up so much is I want to bring this up. Prior to me and Phil and Dan being on the board and Keisha as a treasurer, the board had no capital budget. They had no capital savings budget. I'll give you an example here what the levy was. In 2020, the township's levy was $119,000. In 2021, it dropped down to $114,000, so it went down. The next year in 22, it went up to $117,000, still lower than even 2020. In 23, went down to $105,000. The point I'm trying to make is nobody was putting money away to fix roads in this town. Okay, well, then we finally started, we brought this up when we playing catch up. So in 2024, we went from 105,023 to 137,024. In 25, we went up to 159,000. And next year will be 201. Okay. I know that sounds like a lot, but to give you an example, Pioneer Road, when we got all done now after paying tonight, we got about $307,000 in Pioneer Road, you know, to fix that road. So, in fact, truth to be honest, part of the reason I had all this town hall is when the bill came due for Great Cloud Trail, they didn't have the money to pay for it. They don't like to admit that, but that's the truth of the fact. I don't want to get into that position again. So, you know, a lot of people watch this at home. That's why I'm bringing this up, because people are going to see this substantial increase, and that's the reason for the substantial increase. And then, Keisha, what was our final balance when we got done this year?
In 2024, we had a surplus of $72,000. So that would be reinvested back to roads. And then Dick mentioned the increase for the 2026 levy at 26%. Rough math, that would be an average increase of about $350 per home or per household. So.
And then if we take we won't know until December our final get done, but I'm trying to pull a number out how much money we would have for. Basically, me and Keisha talked one time, I'm just pulling numbers out right now. If at the end of December we got $500,000, say that's our total bank balance, we figured we should have 150 at all times for basic operating costs. So if that was a number, that'd leave us about currently 350,000 we'd have for roads. Well, like I say, you know, Pioneer cost us 307. So just get an idea where we're at and what we're trying to do here, you know. So anyway, that's the end of my spiel on that. I know people are going to look when they get that, they're going to say, hey, Gray Cloud went up a lot. Well, and I think, oh, then there's another number I could throw out here. I ain't going to go into detail on it, but the multiplier that each community uses to figure out their local levy, even with the increase for 26, we're lower than Cottage Grove and lower than St. Paul Park. So even in 26, we'll be lower than that.
Is that going to balance us out, or is it going to go up every year?
We'll have to find out next year. I think we're kind of looking, I think, about where we're at now. If we keep doing that, it's just a question of what do the people want? You know, I mean, how demanding are they? Luckily, give you an example, 105th Street's the worst street we got right now. It's kind of a mess. We'll put a little money into it this coming year. But luckily, there's not much traffic on it. Keith Peterson, luckily, that dirt part down where it stops, that's actually public property, public road. He claims it as his own kind of. But luckily, we give him, I think we gave him about 4 loads of gravel this year because the road washed out. But long story short, we end up spending about $400 a year down there, and Keith does all the work. I mean, that's pretty cheap. Island Drive over there, it hasn't gotten much worse in the last bunch of years. Hopefully, you know, it hangs in there as long as you can. The base is good on it. It's the top part. And with our 4-ton axle limit on it, it should eliminate a lot of trucks on there.
Yeah, and I think this amount would help us, yeah, like Dick said, kind of maintain at this level, but it would depend on what other costs also go up in a given year. If our snow plowing expense goes up or, you know, whatever else, this isn't the only thing that could cause an increase year over year, but I think we feel comfortable with this amount, kind of reserving it each year, but would have to look at kind of all the variables to make sure nothing else is going up substantially. I mean, we all know everything's getting more expensive, so.
Yeah, we've been pumping a little more into that road. Well, all the costs go up on everything like that, but we've been putting more toward that road thing than anything.
And then, like I said, we're looking into perhaps bonding, getting a bond. So we'll see how that plays out. But anything else?
I kind of like paying as we go. You know, it's good. We have to weigh it out, you know, because, well, I can throw this out there too. We went to a meeting with all the other townships. They have they're up to 2 of them a year they're going to go to now. And I asked them, what are you doing for roads? A few of them are doing like we were, you know, pay as you go and get your money. And then a few of them did like our boards did in the past. They didn't keep up. So now they're sitting there. We don't put away. A few of them sold bonds, you know, because they were looking at, you know, the price of roads is going up higher than the cost of borrowing the money. Some did that. Some of the others said, no, we don't want to get into that. So it's all over the place. It's, you know, there's no consistency what the others are doing. So that's where that's at.
Motion to adjourn?
You got anything? He showed up here. No?
I heard an attorney, I didn't know who was going to deal with Lions since Cottage Grove went 5-0.
Oh, what do you mean they went 5-0?
For approval.
On the,
Are you serious?
No, they approved,
that was for
they approved the EIS of what they approved. So that basically just sends it on to the other agencies. But
right.
we were there, you know, we were there, we went up there to, and then we listened to Bailey's spiel, and we knew that was going to happen, so we didn't hang around for the vote. So. Okay?
If anything goes on with the mining and Amrise, you will be notified. If you have code red or email distribution, I would definitely let you guys know. I know that is a big thing for all of us residents.
We haven't done a code red per se, is that just the recording you do? That's
That's code red.
okay.
It's
We have not heard a word on that.
Heard a thing on that yet, or that's.
We haven't heard anything on their 2026
I
permit?
noticed,
Nothing, not a thing.
I noticed a couple weeks ago, was it a couple weeks ago, we seen a couple guys out there? There was a vehicle parked and they were out there scratching around again, so I don't know what that was all about. But, yeah, we haven't heard any more. Our lawsuit is moving on. We've got a court date sometime in March, I believe, so that's all.
Actually, it's their lawsuit. They sued us.
Their lawsuit. All right,
Motion to adjourn?
to adjourn.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Me.